2NURFM News for our sponsor, Tile Warehouse Warners Bay. Open 7 days for your convenience.
It's 2 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Annabelle Regan with 2NURFM Hunter News. Newcastle detectives are continuing their investigations into the death of a 71-year-old man at Mayfield at around 2 p.m. yesterday afternoon. Emergency services were called to a home on Kerr Street yesterday to find the man with a gunshot wound to his chest. Police appealing for anyone who may have been in the area at the time or witnessed the incident to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. Meanwhile, investigations are still underway into the alleged assault of a man whose car was then stolen at the John Hunter Hospital at around 2 p.m. on Friday. Police are hoping to speak to a man of Caucasian appearance, approximately 20-year-old, with a thin build. Hopes of a Liberal commitment to Newcastle Art Gallery redevelopment have been revived under the Baird's government's plans of a $600 million cultural infrastructure fund. The fund will become available if the government were to lease the state's electricity. Kathy Tate of the Save Our Cultural Institutions Committee says the community would benefit from the redevelopment.
It would include a larger space for exhibitions. It would include things like a new air conditioning system which desperately needs to be replaced. And then most importantly, we would have a coffee shop and a shop which would bring in a really good revenue stream.
The dream of buying your first home could soon be a reality for many residents in the Hunter, with Labor's plans to implement a Help for Home scheme. State opposition leader Luke Foley cemented his support for the first home buyers in last night's election debate, pledging to defer upfront stamp duty costs if he wins office in the upcoming state election. Shadow Minister for the Hunter, MP Sonia Hornery, says the initiative will help boost the region's economy.
I believe it is very important to help first home buyers in the Hunter. Building homes, of course, helps all industries as well as the home buyers themselves. Certainly in the western suburbs of Wallsend and Newcastle, there are plenty of homes that are being built, but unfortunately people aren't often able to buy them.
Meanwhile, the Newcastle Institute will host a public forum featuring candidates from the New South Wales Upper House next Wednesday, 6 p.m. at South Leagues Club. Elderly and disabled residents within the Hunter will have improved access to local bus services following public transport upgrades. The Hunter has received more than $478,000 from the state government, which will be put towards infrastructure improvements across Maitland, Singleton, Port Stephens and Lake Macquarie. Liberal candidate for Maitland, Steve Thompson, says those in the community who cannot rely on public transport options will benefit most.
The last thing you want if you're a person with a disability or you're an elderly person who's not as mobile, if you can't drive a car, you're relying on public transport, and this brings public transport back to those people as a transport option.
In light of a proposed expansion, Rio Tinto has rejected an open-cut mine alternative, claiming less than 20% of the potential coal could be reached with an underground complex. Bulga residents have pleaded with the mining company to consider going underground in a bid to save their local community from being relocated. Bulga Milbradale Progress Association Vice President John Cray says the expansion shouldn't go ahead until an impacts review and underground mine guarantee have been obtained.
The Department of Planning seems to want to downplay, as so does Rio Tinto, the impacts of this mine. The bottom line is, and this is what the PAC should have said, this is too big an impact. It is such that you should relocate the village of Bulga, and therefore this whole scheme should be rejected. And the politicians should take some note of that.
The Calvary Mater Hospital has today received a $55,000 funding boost from the Newcastle Permanent Charitable Foundation to invest in a new scalp cooling technology, which will see the hospital's cancer patients potentially stop losing their hair through chemotherapy. Scalp cooling works by lowering the temperature of the head and scalp immediately before, after and during the administration of chemotherapy, thereby making the hair less vulnerable to the damage of cancer treatments. Director of Nursing at the Mater, Ros Eveningham, says the new treatment will help improve patients' quality on life.
So the scalp cooling machines have actually been purchased and are now available for our patients to be using. Its access for new therapies currently available on the market for parties experiencing hair loss, and it actually improves the patient's self-esteem.
Maitland City Council are considering legal action against a local landowner whose waste-filled property has caused neighbours to complain. The council has issued orders and penalty notices, but has yet to receive any cooperation from the landowner. Management of Development and Environment David Sim says the council's only option will be to force entry onto the property and to clean out the waste.
It's a problem in terms of fire, hazard, harbourage or rubbish and vermin on the site. In 99% of occasions, people comply. We've been through that legal process and those processes have been exhausted, and we're really the only remedy that's available to us now is to seek court approval to enter the land and undertake the work.
In finance, the All Ords is down 79.4 points at 57.89, and $1 Australian is buying 76.93 US cents. Now with sport, Belinda Dallas-Harris.
Former Newcastle Hunters star Susie Batkovich is celebrating after leading Townsville Fire to a 76-65 victory over Bendigo in yesterday's WNBL final. The win delivers Batkovich her coveted third national crown, a home court showing only sweetening the deal. Newcastle rower Laura Dunn will have to put in the hard yards to retain her spot on the Australian team ahead of next month's trials in Perth. The crew is yet to be finalised, however Georgia Miansrau has been confirmed as a likely late contender after earlier missing out on a tilt for the Aussies due to injury. Dunn will be forced to compete against Miansrau, Sarah Pound, Maya Simmons and Georgia Nesbitt for only 4 spots in the crew, who'll contend the Perth draw from April 10 through 12. And Wallsend have snatched the Newcastle District Cricket Under-21s title with a comprehensive 132-run thumping of Waratah Mayfield at No. 1 Sports Ground. That's sport. I'm Belinda Dallas-Harris.
2NURFM news time is 2:06.